Hi, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Okay, let's wait for a few minutes until people are joining. Then we will get started. Yep. By the time, any questions, anything which you would like to ask or which you would like to discuss?
I have a small question.
Yes, Sri. Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, is there a role called Power BI consultant?
See, the names are different. There is a role called as Power BI consultant, but consultant is for people with kind of 7 to 8 years of experience, minimum. So there is a role called as Power BI consultant, but how do we, I mean, how do you identify whether that role is for certain set of experience, right? Um, in a company, see if you're discussing or if you're just going through companies' roles and responsibilities, or probably how, uh, what kind of roles are there in that company? Band and grade, right? That is what it matters. So it always starts from a junior developer, then it goes to maybe kind of associate consultant or assistant consultant, kind of that, and then it goes to a consultant. So somewhere consultant is mid-level experienced person.
Okay.
Names can be anything. It all depends, right? Any company can have a different. If you have ever seen any roles from banking related firms, like there is this Wells Fargo, there is this JP Morgan, we have many UBS also. If you have seen the roles and responsibilities of these companies and the role which they are hiring for, you might see role called as vice president, assistant president. For people with 10 years of experience also, they give this role. So every company has their own way of interpreting their open positions. The only thing is you have to go down and check whether the roles and responsibilities are matching with your skill set, and you have that number of years of experience. That matters. Name can be anything, whatever name they have given. Okay. Anyone, any other questions? We still have a few more minutes to get started with.
Uh, one more clarification I require. Uh,
Sachin, go ahead.
yeah. So even in the cell, once we enroll, we'll get some self-paced videos also, right? For every
Mhm.
topics. So are those also exactly same which we're going to study during the instructor led classes also, or they are short of content?
Not short term. Um, See, I can change the questions for different batches. But end of the day, data sets, whatever data sets I'll be sharing, it is not only for short term. It is more a kind of, if you practice, it is kind of, you can implement that same logics in the real time projects as well. So now,
No, why I basically asked this thing, like
hmm,
considering my situation wherein I'm on bench right now, so I
okay.
want to utilize my, best of the time because
Mhm.
so that I can grab the opportunity as early as possible inside the company. Should not wait for at least 4 months till the duration. Or that's fine. The course can go for 4 5 months, but in outside world, but within the company, if the more early I can, deliver to them, that will be beneficial for me and them. That is why I just ask.
Okay, got it, got it. Okay. So see, anyways, if you're targeting you want to get into a good position, this is the right time. The one uh, month of September, October, or even month of November. By end of November, or maybe you can target 15th of December, because prior to December, you should get into that company, not get into a job or get an offer, but you should join as well by 15th of December, because post 15th of December, people will go on leave this Christmas vacation, and we have year-end holidays, right? So uh, this batch has a very good probability, or I mean, you are in the right phase that if you're targeting, you already know some basics of Power BI, or maybe once anyways, we would complete Power BI by end of October only. So you still have 1.5 month to target and get into a particular role. So what we will be sharing, that content is good enough to practice. And I mean, I'll also help you that how would you clear interviews as well. Now the question is, we also have this tool called as AI, right? We have ChatGPT, we have many other AI tools. So with the
Right,
help
right.
of that, how do we utilize that tools? That also matters, right? So we can utilize it in the right way so that you get into a good position, or you may get your all of your answers clarified from that. See, a person who uses a particular AI tool will always stay in the market. It will not take any jobs, but the question is how a person is utilizing that particular tool to improve efficiency.
Sometime I feel like, while using AI for an intermediate person, who's taking help of it, in so that person, utilize half of his brain in that manner. So
Mhm.
that is why I sometimes, try to refrain from that particular thing until unless it is very, difficult for me, or something a do or die situation for me. Else I'll try to, test my own mind also first.
The AI, okay, to simplify it for further, or maybe add my points, just give me a second. Okay, to add my point to it, how AI will work is, see, AI always works as per your questionnaire. What you ask, it adapts that question and it changes with respect to that question. It answers that way. So if you're asking only wrong questions, it would answer wrong answers. If you're asking correct questions, it would answer correct answers. So the way of asking, the way of prompting that AI also matters a lot. So it is very important that how you train that AI, how you train that chat GPT model or whatever model you're using, right? We have many AI tools which are freely available. We need not pay a single penny for it, but which are freely available. How do you prompt it? It changes its way of answering. So if you're prompting it in the wrong way, it may not give you the right result, what you're expecting. If you're prompting it what it understands or what you are able to understand, if you know the domain, if you know what your expectation is, only then you will be able to ask a question, right? So the most important part is how a person is adapting any requirement, and that adapted, I mean, whatever adaptation you're doing, right? It is being shared with the AI. Only then it will be able to prompt you, or it will be able to answer the questions. So one thing for sure is, without manual intervention, any project cannot be closed or any project cannot be completed. Somewhere it requires 40-45% of manual intervention, even if it is completely automated, even 50-50, or maybe you're using complete AI also, somewhere it requires manual intervention. So that somewhere is what you understand the business. AI tool will never understand the business. A human mind can understand, right? So business
Right,
understanding is most important.
right.
Okay, so let's get started for time being. Um, so I request everyone, whomsoever is attending, if you, I mean, if you have Power BI in your laptops, that is well and good. For the people who don't have Power BI in their laptops, how do you download this? There are two ways, right? There are two ways or two options. One is you go to a specific browser. If you're using Edge, if you're using Chrome, either of the browser, any browser is sufficient. So you try to only mention Microsoft Power BI there. If you're using Edge, what it happens is Edge is a product of Microsoft, the Edge browser, right? It's a default browser for Windows systems. So if you want to download from, or if you search Power BI download also, it would always prompt you to download from the App Store. We have some condition called as App Store here, right? So Microsoft Store. You can download it from here, Microsoft Store also. And if you're downloading it from Edge browser, it will always prompt you to download from Microsoft Store only. See, if I click here, install on Windows, it would always prompt me to go back to that Microsoft Store. Or else if you're using a Chrome browser, right? If you're using a Chrome browser. So we have this Chrome browser. So in this Chrome browser, you can again mention Power BI download. Right. So the very first website it would ask you, or maybe it would prompt you. This is the very first website, which is www.microsoft.com, and you have some English US download details, EN US download, right? So if you go down, this is the uh, page where you can download the official Power BI. Now, why am I saying to download first is once we get this product downloaded, we will discuss what all components are present in the Power BI desktop, right? So not directly jumping to the what is Power BI or how do we understand this or what tools, what all sub tools are present in it. We'll also try to discuss that. But let's first download this official version. Two ways: if you're using Edge browser, it will always prompt you to download from Microsoft Store, or if you're using a Chrome browser, it would always prompt you to download from the browser itself, right? So you need to download, you need to click on download, it would get downloaded. Use this file into x64.exe file, right? So once this exe file is downloaded, you have to install this in your laptop. You have to double click. It would take some, it's around 800 MB, right? So it would take some 15 minutes or 20 minutes to complete the installation. Downloading will take 2-3 minutes or maybe 5 minutes, depending on your speed. Once it is downloaded, you have to install it, right? So once you install it, I already have it installed in my desktop. So let me open it, right? So once you completely install it, you will get this option. You will get this option called as Power BI Desktop, right? You have to double click on it. If you search it in your Windows, you will get that option and it would start open that Power BI Desktop. Now, what exactly is this Power BI Desktop? And I mean, just to make sure that what all components are present in this Power BI, we'll try to discuss that. Right, so just give me a second. So by the time it opens, let me open the okay. So so once you open this Power BI Desktop, once you're downloaded, once you installed it in your local system, you may not be able to see all these options. For me, I have multiple reports within me or with my laptop. So that's the reason I'm seeing all these recommendations and all these options, recent options. But for you, you will only get these 5 tabs at the start, 5 or 6 tabs at the start. A blank report or some Fabric related options which are available, right? So Power BI Desktop is a on-premise application. It is not a cloud application. It is downloaded from a cloud, but whatever you are installing in your local system, it will always stay in your local system only. Now, what exactly is this Power BI Desktop, right? What exactly is this Power BI Desktop? So let me give you an idea. Right. So we are not directly jumping what exactly is, I mean, what all components are present, but just to give you a brief highlight about Power BI. If you are new to Power BI, you need to understand that when was it launched, how long it has been in the market. So it was launched on 25th of July, 2015. Not exactly 24, it is 25th. Now 24 was as per the US time. It was launched on 24 from the US point of view. From the Indian point of view, it was launched on 25th of July 2015. So 24 and 25, both days are celebrated throughout the world. That on these 2 days, the Power BI was officially launched uh, in for the normal people or for public, for general public, right? So it's been almost decade. A decade back, this Power BI was launched. Now there are few highlights, right? What highlights are? Since last 10 years, Power BI has evolved a lot. But there is only one thing which has changed from the Power BI purchase point of view is when Power BI was launched in 2015, for Power BI Desktop, it will not take or it will not ask you a single penny. It is totally free because it's a on-premise system. You can download it and you can use it in your local machines, right? Once your development is done, now what is development? Where do we do that development? We'll discuss that as well. So once your complete report development is done, if you want to share that report with multiple people, you have to share it via Power BI service. Now, what is service also? We'll discuss it in detail. But if you want to share it, you have to pay certain amount. And even a person who want to view also, he has to pay certain amount. Certain amount in the sense, we both have to have a license. So that licensing cost also remained same for almost 10 years. Starting from 2015 until 2025, they never increased a single penny. Yes, they have slightly increased, slight in the sense, if it was $10 earlier, it is $14 now. If it was $20 earlier for a certain license, it is $24. That's the only difference which Power BI has made from the purchase point of view. But there are many other updates which Power BI has given from the Power BI Desktop, right? Power BI is getting every month some or other updates. It may not be that useful from a developer point of view, but if you combine all 12 months of updates, Power BI will be a very upgraded product from what you have downloaded now to next 6 months also, or if you compare it to the next 1 year as well, right? So every month, some or other update it is releasing. Microsoft is releasing. Now, there are many companies which are using Power BI. I have only listed few companies. Few in the sense, what I mean, I've been using this presentation since last 2 years, right? It's a old presentation, still fine, right? Because the launch date will not change. The only thing is number of companies using Power BI has increased. That is for sure. And I'm not sure if anyone is from government departments. The Power BI is also being used or it is being adapted by Indian government in their government offices as well for their reporting and analytical purpose. Even Indian government is adapting that reporting tool because, right? So what government, I mean, what matters for a government is the amount which they are spending on a particular tool and how fast any person can grasp that tool. If you compare any other tool which is present in the market, Power BI can grasp it very easily. I mean, we can grasp that Power BI very easily, and anyone can adapt that tool. Within few days, anyone can adapt the tool because it is easier to use. And for the people who know already some part of Excel, I mean, how Excel works, what is the UI in Excel? If you're used to some options in the Excel, for you, it is very easy. It's a kind of cakewalk for you. You can easily grasp this Power BI UI also. There's nothing difficult in that. So a person who is totally new also, or who already knows some basics of Excel, anyone can easily adapt this tool. So that is one reason why the government of India is also adapting this tool for their data analytics and reporting purpose, right? Income tax is one of the first department to adapt this, because income tax, I mean, that department is one of the what you call a kind of I mean, people are continuously working. Except that, there are many other government departments which are more a kind of lethargic, right? They always have a tendency to work very slow. But income tax department was the very first department in government of India to adapt this Power BI for their reporting purpose. So that's the reason I've taken a small example of that reporting yesterday, right? We have seen now that report was prepared externally. It is not a part of external, I mean, that income tax department, but just to make sure that income tax department or excise department was the first department to adapt this Power BI for their reporting purpose. Now, Power BI is a combination of multiple components, right? What all components are present. So once you have downloaded, once you have installed, the installed product is your Power BI desktop. Now, if I go ahead, the installed product is your Power BI desktop. What is Power BI desktop? I mean, how different is it? Let's try to see, right? Let's try to see that. See, Power BI desktop is an offline product. This is complete offline. The one which I'm highlighting, this is an offline product. Offline in the sense, once you download it, you may need not have internet always. If you don't have internet also, it is still fine. This Power BI desktop will work without internet. Now, what is Power BI service? Power BI service is a complete online product. Without internet, you cannot connect Power BI service. You need to have internet. You need to have a good browser. It cannot be used with an application. Power BI service is not an application. It's an online cloud-based service. So you need to use a browser. It should be online. You should have internet always, and you need to have a browser to connect to Power BI service. Any browser you can use. Recommended is Edge, because Edge is a product of Microsoft, but you can use Chrome also. You can use some other browsers like Firefox. We have many other third-party browsers also. So you can use any browser. Now, broadly, I mean, the product of Power BI is broadly classified into two main types. One is desktop and one is service. Now, in Power BI desktop also, it is broken into many other subparts. Many other subparts in the sense, right? If a person is developing certain report, that report goes through certain phases of development. Phases in the sense, it is not that it is dev phase, QA phase, and production phase, not that component. But whenever you're developing, as a Power BI developer, you need to first clean the data. You need to first understand and how that data should look alike. That is most important. So transformation of data is important. Once that is done, there is a concept called as data modeling. Now, what is data modeling? In simple terms, if you're working on any reporting tool, not only Power BI, if you're working on any reporting or data analysis, we may never get data in only one table format, right? It is not that we always get data in only one table. We may get data in multiple tables, right? T1, T2, T3. So if you want to extract information from all these tables, if there is no relationship between these three tables, we cannot extract the information, right? So from T1 table, I want to extract some information from T3. So if there is no relationship means there is no connectivity between these two tables. It is very difficult to get the information. But if I want to fetch information from T1 to T3, and if there is a relation between these two tables. Now, what is relation? Relation in reporting is called as data modeling. How do you model the data, right? How tables are connected to each other. It is not always that T1 should be connected to T3 and T1 should be. So if you want to connect this T3 to T2, there can be connection from T1 to T2 also. It is not that it should be always connected from T3 to T2. If you want to fetch some information from this table 3 to this table 2, there is no direct relationship between T3 and T2, but it is connected via T1, right? So you can come here, and from here you can connect to T2. So this is how a data modeling is prepared, right? This is how a data modeling, a person has to work on the data modeling as well. And that data modeling can be prepared within the Power BI only. So that is the second step. Post data modeling, you can start working on the visualization or representation of data in terms of graphs. That is the third step, right? So Power BI desktop includes multiple subcomponents. So for every, for data modeling, there is a different view. For data transformation and cleaning, there is a different view. For data visualization, there is a different view. And while preparing data visualization, you may need to write some formulas. You may need to write some logics, right? Some external logics. The logics which are not coming from the data. You have to write it from your own understanding. So that logics also can be written, which are nothing but your DAX functions. So all these components combine together to form a complete offline product, which is called as Power BI Desktop. And once the development is done, that means complete report is done, reporting, complete end-to-end reporting is done. You want to share that report with some end user, you need to share it via Power BI service. So there can be multiple users who has an access to this Power BI service. It might be hundreds, it might be thousands, or it might be even millions of users who can access this Power BI service because it is online service. Now you will have a question that why Power BI service is online and why Power BI desktop is offline. Development can be done from the developer's end at any point of time. But if that development needs to be shared with multiple people, how do you share, right? You are based out of India and the end user is based out of some other location. Might be he's from Europe, might be he's from some Middle Eastern countries, right? Might be he's from some Eastern Asian countries. So in that case, he has to access it via online, right? He has to access it via cloud. Anyone can access from any part of the world. So that is the reason Power BI service is online and Power BI desktop is offline product. Now, what all sub-components are present in Power BI desktop, right? Let's try to understand. See, Power Query is one of the first sub-component which you have to start working on. This is the component where you need to clean your data. Power Query is where you need to clean and transform your data. All your cleaning, transformation, anything which is related. If you feel the data is not accurate, if you feel the data is not up to the mark, what our expectation is, and what that data should look like, everything can be done within this Power Query. So Power Query is the very first component of the Power BI desktop. After that, the second component is Power Pivot. This Power Pivot, see, this component is not separately available. This is within the Power Query only. This is embedded within the Power Query. Now, what is embedded? That means Power Pivot itself is a part of Power Query, but it is assumed it is a separate component. Right now, after Power Query and Power Pivot, the third component is Power Map. The third component is Power View, not Power Map, it's Power View. Now, what is this Power View? Power View is where you create your visuals, all your visuals, right? If you want to create any specific visuals, or your visuals can be prepared in this Power View. Right? So first one is cleaning the data. Second one, Power Pivot, is also related to cleaning only. Right? If you want to change from row to column or column to row form, I'm not sure how many of you know what is the meaning of pivot and unpivot. Right? If you can easily search on Google also what is pivot and what is unpivot. The meaning is same. the way of, I mean, what we would be doing in the Power Pivot, the way of working with that meaning you can correlate with that Google meaning also you can correlate. Power View is where we create our visuals. All our visuals can be created within this Power View. So you need to remember the names of components. You need to mug up these names, right? Even if a person is asking a question and you have just woke up from a sleep also, you should remember the names of these components, because every component has its own behavior and has its own way of maybe, I mean, in the sense, if you're working on a certain any sub component or any component here, right, Power Query or Power View, you should know the importance that what can be done inside this component. Right now, there is this fourth component called as Power Map. This Power Map is itself a part of Power View. Same like Power Pivot, which is itself a part of Power Query. Power Map itself is a part of Power View. What is it? Power Map is nothing but if you want to show anything in terms of map visuals, that is where Power Map comes into picture. Right? Now, Power Q&A. Power Q&A is also itself a part of Power View. It is also present inside Power View. Now, Power Q&A is nothing but your semi-AI tool. What you ask for ChatGPT, right? If you're asking some question to ChatGPT, it would answer, right? Similar way, if your data is all cleaned and if your data is correctly modeled, you can ask a question to this Power Q&A, which is present itself in the Power View, and it will answer that question, or it will create a chart for you. Automatically, it will create a chart for you. Now, this is the fifth component. And there is this sixth component called as Power BI mobile apps. This is more a kind of combination of both. Sometimes it is offline. What is offline? In offline, you can develop. And if you want to publish it to the online, right? So you want to access some report using Power BI mobile app, you can still access it. There is no app for desktop. There is app for mobile. And there is this Power BI website, which is nothing but your service. This is service, and all together, except this service, all other components are part and parcel of this Power BI desktop. Now, there is a question that whether we are going to discuss all this. Yes, because with all this only, you will be able to learn Power BI desktop. If you skip either of the component, Power BI desktop is half cooked. You cannot learn. So all these components are within the Power BI desktop only. We will be going through each and every component in detail. Each and every component. The last one will be service. Once you understand complete end-to-end development, then we will touch base this Power BI service. Until then, we'll not be touching this Power BI service. So in order to activate this Power BI service, you need a license. I mean, you can directly access this Power BI service without a license also, but it will not display all the options which are available in that Power BI service. Until and unless you have a valid license, you cannot activate Power BI service with all the options and features. So how do you get a license? We will be sharing certain email IDs. That email IDs, with that email ID, you will get a license of 60 days. Right? You will get a license of 60 days, which is more than enough for our practice. So by mid of Power BI, mid in the sense somewhere around after 20-25 sessions, we would be sharing that Power BI service credentials along with the email IDs. So all these components are part and parcel of Power BI desktop. You need to remember each and every component. Now, this is just a representation, right? This I've presented. But how every component looks like in real time, right? How every component looks like in real time, or where is this components located in Power BI desktop? All these components, where are these components located in Power BI desktop? We'll try to see that. But prior jumping to that, what I'll do, let me go back. Let me go back. There is this small comparison. What I've done, I've used a small comparison between Power BI and some other tools. This comparison will help you to identify that how we can compare any other reporting tool with Power BI. Now, this is not $10 now, it is 14 minimum. Minimum for Tableau, it is $70 minimum. Now, see, there are some drawbacks for every tool. If that tool is a very good tool, even any tool which you are learning in this IT field, for every tool, there will be some limitation. There will be some limitation or some drawback, some limitation or drawback. That drawback, how do you identify and how do you make sure that drawback is nowhere in our picture if we are learning? How to adapt that drawback and how to overcome that. That is more important, right? So if you're comparing Tableau and Power BI, there are some 24 default charts which are available in Tableau. Now, if you are not satisfied with this 24 charts, you can create some external charts also in Tableau. That is possible. In Power BI, default, there are 36 charts. There are 36 default charts, not 30 plus, it's exactly 36. And if you're not even satisfied with this 36, there are some third-party charts also, which you can download it very easily. That is also possible. Now, there is one benefit. In Tableau, you can create your own charts, but you have to learn certain programming language there. If you see, I've written the second point, write code for more charts. There are some 250 default charts which are available from Marketplace. You need not write a single line of code to generate any specific visual or a chart. That is also an advantage with respect to Power BI. And Tableau can connect somewhere around 84 or 85 data sources as of now. Power BI can connect 130 data sources, 130. It's 99 plus, but it is 130 different data sources, right? And if you're using a Tableau, you cannot clean data inside a Tableau. You have to do it externally. One of the best tool which is used to clean data while using Tableau is, there is this tool called as Alteryx. This tool is externally used by all the Tableau developers because Tableau will not help you to clean the data in that efficient manner which Power BI does. In Power BI, there is a inbuilt ETL tool which is called as Power Query. This is the very first component we have started, right? In the Power BI desktop, the very first component is your Power Query. That component will help you to transform the data, to clean the data. In Power Query also, there is a certain limitation that it cannot handle GBs, many GBs of data, many GBs in the sense if it is of 20 GB, 30 GB, it cannot handle that much big data. So what you need to do, you have to break that data and you have to transform that in the Power Query. That is the limitation. But in Tableau, there is no ETL tool. There is no inbuilt ETL tool. You have to separately use some other tool. Most commonly used tool is Alteryx. But here in Power Query, if the data is very high, right, the volume of data, if the volume of data is very high, we need to use an external tool or we need to use a tool which is also product of Microsoft that is called as ADF, which we would be learning in Azure. Right? If the data volume is high, in that case, we need to use this. But Power Query has almost many options which will help us to transform the data very easily. Now, in Tableau, there are some around 225 functions available. Functions in the sense, if you compare it with Power BI, logics or your DAX formulas, there are around 420 plus DAX functions as of today. As of today, 420 plus. Power BI, as I've said, Power BI is getting every month updates. So some new functions are also getting introduced since last 2 years. The number of functions has almost increased by 100 plus. 100 plus new functions have been introduced in last 2 years or last 24 months. Now, as I've said, right, every tool has certain drawback. What is the drawback? In Tableau, you may need not focus much on the storage. Even if your data coming from different sources is very big in volume, you can handle it very easily. In Power BI, there is a limitation. What is that limitation? If you're going with this $14 license, this is called as a pro license, which we will be discussing. But if you go with this $14 license, you can use 10 GB of data per report. Per report, it is not even 10 GB, it's somewhere around 1 GB, but you have to break that into multiple pieces. And if you're going with $24, which is premium license, you can use up to 40 GB. See, it's very simple. If you're comparing, right, this is a limitation in Power BI. I would always say for every product, if that product is very good, there will be one limitation or a drawback. This is one drawback in Power BI. But this is, if you think it from the data point of view, until now, in my 8 years of experience, I've never seen a report which will go beyond 4 or 5 GB of limit. A report, right? If you're working on 100 GB of data, there is not even a single report in Tableau which can be created with that 100 GB data. You have to still break that into multiple pieces, create multiple reports and share it differently. Same is done in Power BI. Even though there is a limitation of the 10 GB, 40 GB, it is more than enough, right? 4 GB, 3 GB of information is also more than enough, because reporting is always focused on last 4 years or 5 years of information. If the information is so big, the volume of data is so big, you have to break it into multiple pieces. Every year, separate report can be created, right? There are options. So even if there is a limitation, you can overcome that limitation with the help of multi-reports. Multiple reports can be created. And I'll always compare Power BI with Tableau. There is this second tool called as Qlik. Qlik is also one of the powerful reporting tools. But the question is, a person who uses Qlik, he needs to know certain amount of coding. Certain in the sense, somewhere Qlik is around 30% of coding. 70% is non-coding, complete reporting only. But 30% of the times people need to understand. There is this language called as mashup language. If anyone is from Qlik background, if you have ever used this tool in your previous experience, there is a language called as mashup language. You need to learn this language in order to, represent any visuals from your, or maybe from the user point of perspective, you need to write this language. Right, so there is 30-35% of scripting. It is not lot of scripting, but still, right, out of 100%, if you're focusing, or if you're most of the part is into scripting or mashup language, you have to write a lot in Qlik. In Power BI, except Power DAX logics or DAX functions, there is zero coding. Now, logics in the sense you need to understand some formulas, right? How a function works. There is a function called a sum function. This is already in Excel. This is already in SQL also. There is a function called as average function. So there are very easy functions. If you compare it with Qlik, even in Qlik also, there is a function called as sum. But along with that sum, you have to write a lot of scripting. So that is avoided in Power BI. That is the biggest difference between Qlik and Power BI. But as I've said, every tool has a limitation. In Qlik, a person can create any kind of visual, any. Even if that visual is not available inside a Qlik, but I want to create a visual, I've imagined certain visual. That visual, I want to create it in Qlik. That can be created in Qlik. That can be created, but you have to write that script right. You have to write certain mashup language script. Whereas in Power BI, there are almost 350 visuals, that marketplace visuals and some default visuals. So you have to adjust within that 350 visuals. If you feel that whatever I have imagined that cannot be interpreted in Power BI, Power BI has come up with certain new updates. It's not new. It's been in Power BI since last 3 years, but people rarely use. There is a visual called as Python visual. What is this Python visual? In Python, you can write a script and you can create your own visual that can also be integrated in Power BI. But this is slightly difficult, right? Because you have to write something in Python. You have to render. Render means what you write and what you visualize. That is called as rendering. So that rendering can be done inside a Python writing Python script, and that can be connected to Power BI. So Power BI has also given an option, but this option is rarely used because Power BI itself has around 300 or 350 visuals, which can be utilized. If you're not satisfied with that, you don't have an option. In that case, you can go with this last option called as Python scripting. But this is very rare, almost nil. No one uses it, but there is this option. Now, if you're comparing, right, if I again go back from the costing price, right, it is again not 10, it is 14 now, but still, right, 14 and 30, there is a difference. Again, storage capacity 1 to 10 GB, and if it is premium license, 40 GB you will get. Sometimes 1 TB is also possible, but not that big reports are created, right? Reports are always broken into very small sub parts. And Qlik, if you want to learn this Qlik, there is a lot to explore inside this Qlik because there are many components which you may not be able to understand within few weeks of learning also. It will take some months to learn this Qlik. Whereas in Power BI, few days are more than enough to understand the exact Power BI desktop, and even 1 to 2 days are enough to understand the Power BI service. From the UI point of view, there are features. Every feature has its own behavior. That is different. But in order to open every component, how user interface is, if you are comparing user interface, Power BI and Qlik, Power BI is very user friendly. That's the difference. Now, there is a question that how do we compare Alteryx and Power BI, right? How are we comparing Alteryx and Power BI? I mean, how Alteryx or how Power BI is better than Alteryx? See, Alteryx is an external tool. Alteryx is an external tool. So what you do in Alteryx, 50% of the part can be done inside this Power BI. 50%. If the other 50% you want to do, you need to go with ADF. So you are paying license, you are paying an amount for Tableau, you are paying an amount for Alteryx. Alteryx is separately charged. If you're comparing it with Power BI, 50% of all the transformations which you do in Alteryx can be done inside a Power Query, right? That means you are saving some 25 to 30% of the amount within the ETL tool of Power BI. If the volume of data is high, you need to go with ADF. So ADF is also not that costlier. See, if Alteryx will charge you fixed amount, definitely it will charge you some $30 or $40 per month. Whereas ADF, you can use within $10 also with the volume of data which you have. It is also possible within the ADF. So the amount which you're spending on Alteryx and ADF or features which are available in the Alteryx, almost half of the features are available in Power BI. That's the primary difference. Right, so we have just compared these two biggest competitors, Tableau and Qlik. There are other tools also, right? Let's not take this. I mean, this is a very random comparison. Few years back, if anyone is having 10 years, 11 years, 12 years of experience, when you started your career back that 10 years back, almost a decade back, or maybe in 2010, 2011, at that time, MicroStrategy was the leading tool in the reporting. MicroStrategy, it was one of the leading tool. Now, rarely a person is using a MicroStrategy because MicroStrategy it's almost drained out of market because they are not releasing monthly updates, or they're not releasing quick updates. Probably if they release quarterly updates or half yearly updates also, that is more than enough. But that company has drained out completely. They're focusing more on some other tools rather on the reporting aspect, because the other tools are also dominating, right? And if you have seen the quadrant, MicroStrategy is nowhere in that quadrant nowadays. Since last 2 years, MicroStrategy is nowhere in that Gartner quadrant. You can easily check that Gartner quadrant in Google. Right? So this is all about understanding or some basic information, some background information with respect to Power BI, we have anyways discussed these components. Let's try to check what these components are in Power BI desktop, right? We can go back and check, right? So this is the exact UI of Power BI. Let me open the Power BI desktop, right? So once you open that Power BI, you have to click on this blank report, right? So you have to click on blank report. Now, these are all the notifications, right? You may get this notification, you may need not get this notification, right? It is not that you should always get a notification, but yeah, sometimes you may get it, sometimes you may not get any notification. That's still fine, right? I can remove this notification. Now, this is the page at what you will be landing once you open the Power BI desktop for the very first time. Now, what is this page or what is this component called as? Whenever you open any Power BI desktop, you will always land in Power View. This is your Power View. Now the question comes, why am I landing in Power View? Why not in Power Query, right? Because Power Query is the first component. That is where we transform our data, we clean our data. Why are we landing in Power View? Power View is the most important component because this is where you create your visuals. You have some visualization tab towards right? These are all the default visuals. Somewhere around 36 or 40 visuals are default visuals which are available. Now we will discuss, right, what every component is called, but this is the Power View. This is, if you open Power BI desktop for the very first time, you will always land into Power View. This is from where you need to navigate to other subcomponents, right? So this is Power View. If you want to open Power Query, you have in the Above tab, you have an option called as Transform Data. What is Power Query? Power Query is where you transform the data, right? You clean the data. So you have to click on this Transform Data. You will get a drop-down option. You have to click on Transform Data. This is your Power Query. You see, there is this written information, Power Query Editor. You will be inside Power Query Editor. Now in Power Query, there are many options, right? What is Power Query? Cleaning of data, right? So you can replace values, you can change data type, you can convert some columns, you can pivot and unpivot. As I've said, Power Pivot itself is a part of Power Query. So if you see, I've opened Power Query Editor. Within this Power Query Editor, you have options called as pivot and unpivot. So pivot and unpivot are within the Power Query only. Right? We have seen three components now. We started with Power View. Then I've opened Power Query. And within this Power Query, I've seen Power Pivot. Three components. Now the question is, what is Power Map, Power Q&A? Where can I see these two components, right? This is Power Query Editor. I will minimize it. I'm not closing it. I'll anyways go back to the Power View, right? So you can have two parallel tabs. One is Power View and one is Power Query Editor. Within Power Query, there is Power Pivot, pivot and unpivot, both. Now inside this Power View, as I've said, Power Map, Power Q&A are within the Power View. How? If you go towards visualization, there are some map visuals here, like map, field map, Azure map. These map visuals, if you're using, these map visuals require certain different criteria. Criteria in the sense, you need to have some geographical data. Only then you will be able to see that information in maps. So that component which is present itself inside this Power View as a separate visuals, kind of map visuals, are called as Power Map. There is no separate component called as Power Map. It is within the Power View only. So if I'm using this map visual, you can say that this is a Power Map component. This is called as Power Map. Now one more question. Where is this Power Q&A, right? This is also within Power View. How do you get that Power Q&A? Power Q&A is also part and parcel of visuals. If you see, if there is this comment box like icon here, this is called as Q&A. You can use it from here. That Power Map is gone, but I've changed it to Power Q&A. You can ask a question. As of now, there is no data. If there is no data, how can you ask a question? Until and unless if there is a data, you can ask a question depending on what data you have. But Power Q&A is also part and parcel of Power View. You can use Power Q&A in two ways, either from a visual or else you can double click on the white space. The white space which you have, you can double click on this white space. Power Q&A will automatically come. So we will try to see some examples of Power Q&A once we load some data, but let's understand the exact user interface of this. Now we discussed how many components, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Power BI Desktop is a combination of all these. And there is this last component called as Power BI Apps. See, what is this Power BI Apps? As I've said, it is 50-50. One which is offline where you do the development, and one which is online where you publish the report in the Power BI app or Power BI service. If you publish a report to Power BI service also, if you want to see it from a certain app, there are two ways. You need to understand the difference. WhatsApp can be downloaded in your mobile as an application, but same WhatsApp can be viewed in the browser as WhatsApp web, right? So in Power BI also, whatever you are publishing to the Power BI service or Power BI website, that can be viewed on the browser. From your mobile browser also you can view. But if you want to download an application, for desktop there is no application, but for mobile there is an application called as Power BI mobile apps. It is only for mobile. So if you want to check any mobile view of report, you can download this Power BI mobile apps. But if you have developed a report in desktop version and you want to check in Power BI mobile apps, it is not compatible. You have to convert that into mobile app way of view. So if I go back to the Power View again, in Power View towards leftmost corner, there are two views. You will always be in the default desktop view because 90% or even more than 90% of reports are developed in desktop view. There are very rare chance that whatever you have developed in desktop view can be converted to mobile view. If some person is using Power BI mobile app, this is the mobile view. And if I change it to mobile view, see, the automatic mobile screen is available here. That means within this screen only you have to create the visuals. And you cannot create direct Power BI mobile layout until and unless you have something in the desktop. Right? If you want to create a report, you cannot create directly in the mobile. This view is not possible. You have to create first a web version, and then you have to come down and use that same visuals in the mobile version. Because if I change to mobile version, see, there are no visuals available. The only thing is you have to first develop something in the web version and then convert it to the mobile version. So without web version, there is no mobile version. That is the reason you will always be into desktop view by default. So how much time it took to view all these components? Maybe for me, it is very easy because I've already gone through it, or I've been using since last 7.5, 8 years. But for you, again, if you download it, once you get used to this, you can easily guess which component I'm using, right? First one is Power View. Inside Power View only, you will get map visuals, which are Power Map. You will get this Q&A option if you double click, or if you use this comment box like visual, which is Power Q&A. You have this Power BI mobile app offline version here, and default is the desktop version. 4 components done. The 5th component is if you go to the home tab. Now the question is, where is this transform, right? Transform is always available in the home tab. You might be, if you're not able to see that transform data, that means you might be in different tabs. There are different tabs available here: insert, modeling, view. So what these tabs are, what is the benefit of these tabs, what is present in these tabs, we'll try to discuss it in the further sessions. Right, so you need to be default in the home tab, and then only you will get this transform option. You can click on this transform option and you will open the Power Query editor. And within this Power Query editor, there is this Power Query as well as Power Pivot, both the components. Right, so within 5 to 10 minutes or maximum of 10 minutes, we discussed all the components of Power BI Desktop, and this is totally offline. It is not that I'm using internet, that is the reason I'm able to open this. Even if you have zero internet connectivity, Power BI desktop will work as it is. There won't be a single change because this is totally offline product. Now I'll take a pause. Until now, any questions on the Power BI components? Now, the only component which we haven't seen is the last component, which is Power BI website, right? Power BI website is the browser, right? We have to use a browser. And same with the Power BI mobile app online version. You need to download it from the Play Store. Now, one condition which I would like to mention, or I was supposed to mention at the start, but I'm mentioning it at last. One who is using Mac laptops or Apple laptops, there is no support for Power BI in Apple laptops or Mac OS systems. There is no direct support. You cannot download Power BI in Mac. It is only supported for Windows. Why? Windows, product of Microsoft. Microsoft is such a company that it is forcing their users, if you're using any of the Microsoft tool, they will always push you to use all the Microsoft environment only. The same happens with Apple, right? If you're using an Apple mobile, they'll always push you to use Apple Watch. Or there are some other smart devices which Apple also produces, right? So even Microsoft is doing the same. So if you're using any Mac OS or your Apple laptop, you have to download some virtual machine on it, a Windows virtual machine, and then use your Power BI inside that virtual machine. Without virtual machine, there is no direct support for Mac. You cannot download Power BI in the Mac. And they'll never release this in the Mac, for sure. Because both are competitors. Mac is a product of Apple, totally opposite of Windows. It's a competitor, so they'll always focus on their own business. They'll never think about their competitors. Right, so this is one update. If you're using any Mac systems, try to use some third-party virtual machines within that Mac, and in that virtual machine, you can download this Power BI desktop. That is the only way. Any other questions? Now, I'll only take 10 more minutes to discuss some additional options. What these options, I mean, we have many views, right? We have visualization, we have some filters, we have some data. What is this above bar called as? So we will discuss that also, and then we'll wind up for today. Any questions until now?
Fine, Ritesh, fine.
Hey, Karthik. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine, Ritesh. Thanks.
Okay, cool. So if there are no questions, what I'll do. See, whenever you open this Power BI desktop, default visualization pane will be in the expanded view. This is expanded view. If I click on collapse, this is collapsed view. But by default, visualization pane is expanded view. Why? Because Power View is where you develop your visuals, right? Your reporting is almost done in the Power View itself. But let's expand all other views. I've expanded data view. By default, you will get three views: data, visualization, and filter. Are these the only three views which are available? No, there are more than these three views. So many views are there. And if you see the tab where you have been, which can be used for development, it is almost minimized. So many views are there. So these views are not required on day-to-day basis, but these three views are required on daily basis. Filter itself is also a view which is available inside this view tab. So if someone is not getting this filters view, right, go to the view tab in the above option. This may be disabled. You have to enable it. By default, it is enabled only, but if you're not getting it, you can go back and enable it from here. right? So some might have a question that I didn't got this filter view, whether it is correctly downloaded or not. No, it is correctly downloaded. The only thing is this view may not be enabled for you. Sometimes it happens, right? But for sure, you need to use all three views on day-to-day basis because these three views are important. Now I'll go back to the home tab again and let me take a snapshot of this. Let's try to see what every component is about. So I'm taking a snapshot of Power View. This is all Power View. So inside this Power View, whatever you are seeing in the above option, right? This complete above option is called as ribbon bar. There are certain names, right? This complete above option is called as ribbon bar. Even if you change the tabs, that is also called as ribbon bar. The only thing is for every tab, there are limited set of options, right? Not everything can be kept in one single view, right? So in home tab, these options are there. In insert tab, there will be some other options. In modeling tab, there will be some other options. So there are many options which are available. But all that options which are available in the above bar is called as ribbon bar. If I again go back to the Power View, that's Power Query. See, you can minimize this ribbon bar. You have this icon. That's it. For few of you, this might be the original view. For few of you, it might look like this. Now, as I've said, if you're downloading Power BI Desktop for very first time, the view of Power BI Desktop might be slightly different. For few, again, the visualization pane may not be available towards right. It might be available in the ribbon bar. Sometimes it is possible. But how do I make sure that visualization pane is coming towards right? See, this is the best view which you can start working with. If visualization pane is above, sometimes it will come above in the ribbon bar. You can change that. How to change it, we'll discuss it in tomorrow's session. But for now, let's understand this is the best view which you can start working. Because in this view, you can easily grasp, you can easily understand the user interface, right? So you can minimize and maximize the ribbon bar. So for few, if the bar is automatically minimized, you may feel that, okay, for me it is different, for Ritesh it is different. No, you can maximize it. This is how you'll get the maximized window or maximized ribbon bar, right? So if you use any option, you are still in the ribbon bar. So what you get in above section is called as ribbon bar. Now, once the ribbon bar is done, towards right, there is this data pane. This is called as pane, P-A-N-E. First one is data pane. Second one is visualization pane. And third one is filters pane. These three panes are the most important panes or most important views which you will be using on day-to-day basis. Now, is it that you should always have these three views expanded? No. You can minimize if you're not using filters. If you want to check data, what I've loaded and what should be coming to a visual, you can expand this data view. But if every complete development is done, you can minimize all three views also. Because you will get a big space, right? You will get a bigger space. So that's how you can utilize the complete Power View. You can expand it whenever you require, you can expand it, right? So these three views can be collapsed or expanded. And these three views are called as pane, filter pane, visualization pane, and data pane. Now, whatever you are seeing in this white space, this is where you develop your visuals. This is where you develop your visuals, right? A report cannot be always of one single page, right? You can go on adding multiple pages below. Multiple pages can be added, right? And you can delete the page if you don't think that page is required, right? You can go on deleting this page. Now, this page, it is automatically taking some default names, right? How do I rename? You have to right click on it. You have an option. You can, if you feel some development is done in this page and you want to duplicate that development, you can use a duplicate. Or else if you click on rename, you can rename that page. Whatever name you want, you can rename. Or else if you double click on it, it will still open that rename option. That cursor will be available. So you can rename the pages, right? A report can be of multi-page. It can be sometimes a 10-page report or sometimes 2-page, 3-page report also. Now, again, I'll go back. This is where visuals are created. I've shown you how do you change the desktop view to mobile view and how to get the new pages. But towards right, you can see some small icons, right? Sorry, towards left, not right. Towards left, you can see some small icons. And your default in this first icon, because this is highlighted in black, right? Bold. What is this icon? This icon states that you are in the report view. That means you are in the visual or reporting where you can develop your own report or visuals, where you can create your report. Your default will be in the report view. Now, what all the other 3 views are? For few of you, this view may not be available. The DAX query view. Still okay, because this is an additional view which you can enable and which you can disable. But for by default, you need to get these 3 views. If you're not getting DAX query view, that's still okay. You can get it with certain options. How? I'll again, right? For few of you, the visualization pane might be available in the ribbon bar. How to get it down, even that can be done with certain setting options. But for that settings, you need to first understand the user interface, right? So that is what we're discussing today. Now you will be default in the report view. If you come down, there is the second view called as table view. What is this table view? Whatever data you have loaded to the Power BI, you may have transferred it, you may have cleaned that data. That cleaned data can be viewed inside a table or a, what you call, there are different names for it. A table view or a data view. Sometimes it is also called as data view as well. Right? So first is reporting, where you can create your visuals. Second is table. What kind of data, right? You may not have only one table, right? There can be multiple tables as we discussed. The data is not always coming in one single table. It might be coming from 2-3 tables or 10 tables also. So all 10 tables you can view here. You can only click on the table name. You will get the list of tables here. You can click on any table and you can check what all columns are there. What is the data present in that view. So this is the second view called as table or a data view. First is report or a visual view. And the last one is your data model view. You want to have relationship between the tables, right? The picture itself is depicting that in the data or model, sorry, the model or the relationship view, you can connect tables together. And if you see what we discussed in the presentation, that is the same representation which they have done, right? So the first one is report view, second one is table view, third one is model view. You might get some 5th option, you might get some 6th option, that is still fine. These are all additional options. You may need not use these options on day-to-day basis, or even if you don't have these options also, that is still fine. There is nothing important with that options. These are all additional new updates. New updates in the sense, probably last 2 years or 3 years, these updates might have been released, but these updates are of not that great benefit. The first 3 views are most important views: report, data, and model. Right? So first 3 views are important. Forget about this P view, DAX view. There is the 6th option also, which is recently updated. Some ML model view. You can integrate ML models also. But that is, if you know how to model the data, if you know how to create ML models, only then you can integrate, right? A data science person can only integrate that, but a data science person needs the help of Power BI developer, because that data model is developed by data science person and Power BI developer will integrate it with certain Power BI options. That's the difference. But that is totally different, right? So understand first 3 important views. These are very important. The other views are not that important. And if you see the diagrammatic representation, this diagrammatic representation, let's assume this is table 1, this is table 2, and this is table 3. So from table 1 to table 2, there is a connection. From table 2 to table 3, there is a connection. But from table 2 to 3, there is no direct connection. but somewhere it is connected to table 1 and somewhere it is connected to table 3, right? So you might see this is a dotted line. Dotted line means there is no direct connection, but indirectly both are connected via T1. That is what we discussed, right? Modeling is not always that it should be connected with each and every table. No. If it is connected via some other table also, it is fine. That is well and good. This is not direct modeling, this is indirect. This dotted line is representing that there is some modeling, but not in the direct way via some other table. So we will discuss more about modeling as well. Not now, but just understand the UI.
Can you
yeah. Go ahead.
Once can you repeat that one? Because in the diagram which you are showing, you are telling table 2 is not connected directly, right? But we see that line, right? Table 1 is connected to table 2 and table 3
there is a dark line and there is a dotted. If you're trying to take this example, we are not discussing about data model, but to make sure that how you understand, if this is table 1, if this is table 2, and if this is table 3. There is no direct connection between 2 and 3. There is this dotted line. There is a difference between solid line and dotted line.
Okay, yeah, when you enlarge it, now I'm able to see the dotted.
One is connected via 3. So this dotted line is representing that there is some indirect relationship. There is no direct relationship. How? Via T1. Because solid line is via T1. Okay, so this was all about Power BI desktop. Make sure you download it, you install it, you try to check the UI of Power BI desktop. It will always open in the Power View. Inside Power View, you have Power Map, Power Q&A, and you have Power BI mobile offline development option. If you in the home tab, in the ribbon bar in the home tab, if you are into the home tab, click on this transform data, it would open that Power Query editor. In the Power Query editor, you will have Power Pivot and Unpivot option. So this is all about Power BI desktop from the user interface, the user interface point of view. What all components are there? How do you access that components? What all tabs are there? We have filter pane, visualization pane, data pane. We have report view, we have table view, we have model view. So all these views, get used to that UI, get used to this user interface, because we will be discussing all this on day-to-day basis. You should not come with a question after 10 days that what is this view? That means you are slow. You are not matching that pace. So make sure if you're going through the UI user interface, get used to it. You may not get used to it in one day. It might take 1 week, but that's still right. So this is all about Power BI desktop with components. We have just seen the user interface. Now we'll try to connect the data from tomorrow's session, how to connect data, how to create some basic views, some basic visuals. That is what we are going to start with tomorrow. And again, I'm trying to say, anyone can drag and drop a visual, but what needs to be available inside that visual, that matters. You can drag, drop any information to that visual. No. You need to understand what needs to be present in x-axis. What is y-axis? In certain visuals, there are no axis. There are certain degree of information. There are certain percentage of information. So you need to understand each and every visual thoroughly. That is the most important part of this Power BI development. Anyone can drag and drop, but the thing is whether it is giving you the right result as per expectation, it is working or not. That is most important part. And for people who have joined, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. So I just want to know, like, what is exactly the table view? So is it like after cleansing the data in the
you will have two views. If you go to Power Query, in Power Query also you can see a table. But in Power Query, that table may be uncleaned table, messy table sometimes. So you have to clean that. Once you clean, it will come to the Power View, and Power View, you can see the cleaned data. In Power View, it is not messy table. In Power Query, it is messy because in Power Query, you can transform that data.
Okay.
Maybe you will get more clarity once I load some data. But for now, understand this difference.
Okay.
So people who are attending today's session for the very first time, we have just started with Power BI yesterday. This course is all about SQL we would be starting with, but SQL for this batch is already done. So you will be given some recordings. You will be given option to attend some parallel SQL batches with some other courses because we have SQL. I'll take your questions.
Okay.
The last option is once we complete Power BI and Azure, again will be starting with SQL. So you will be given SQL access at the last. So that is the last option. You have all three options open. Power BI is the second part or second stack which we have started with this course. So SQL will have minimum 22 sessions. Power BI will have minimum 35. It might go to 40 also. But 35 is what we guarantee. And at the last, we will be discussing Azure. In Azure, there are minimum 22 sessions again. So 1 month of Azure, 2 months of Power BI, and 1 month of SQL. So it accommodates 4 months. Complete 4 months you will be, in all these 4 months, we would be covering all these tech stack. Now, the question is, what would be discussed inside this tech stack, right? What all technical skills will be discussed? Let me give you that idea as well, right? So this is what all we would be discussing. In SQL, almost what is required from the data analyst point of view, everything end to end in SQL will be discussed. But anyways, this is completed for this current what you call batch. You will be given options. Now you have to choose which option is best for you. You choose all three options. That is also fine. Second, we have started with Power BI. Power BI we would be covering along with Fabric. It is not that we are just going to cover Power BI desktop or simply Power BI service, because Power BI service itself is now part of Fabric. So Fabric anyways, we would be going to cover. Along with that, what is required from the Azure cloud standpoint of view, right? Azure Data Factory and some dependent services we would be covering. And at the last, we will be touch basing some services which may not be used by data analysts on day-to-day basis, but you need to understand that if the volume of data increases, how to handle it using Synapse. What is Synapse? What is Databricks? What Logic Apps is? It is somewhere similar to Power Automate. So some similar services which are required from the data analyst point of view, we will be discussing basics of them. Right? So this is all about course, complete 4 months, minimum 80 sessions we guarantee, and that we cover in more than 80 sessions. Not even 80, more than 80. But minimum 80 sessions we guarantee. So 80 sessions would be done. The target should be of 100 days. 80 sessions, and every weekend we assume that it has one single day. Saturday or Sunday, both days we'll assume it has one single day. So in 4 months, we have how many weekends? 16 weekends. Somewhere around 16 to 20 weekends. So that 80 days and 20 weekends accommodates 100 days. So keep a target of 100 days. That is what you need to have it. That is what you need to chase. And within that 100 days, you need to jump into a good data analyst position or Power BI dev position. Now, you may also have certain people may also have questions that what is the course? What is the charges, right? What you have to pay, fees, right? We'll discuss more about fees in next few sessions, but just to give you an update, 30K is the fees for this course, but there are certain clauses. What is that clause? If you're paying it for one time, it will be some 27K, 10% discount. If you're paying it with 2 installments, it would be 14K plus 14K. So it would be 28K. And if you're paying it with 3 installments, it would be 10, 10, 10. So it would be all 30K. No discount for 3 EMIs, 2000 discount for 2 EMIs, and 3000 discount for one-time payment, flat. So this is about course fees. To justify for it, we are giving a premium license for 2 months. Premium license will cost us $24. What is this $24? You can easily calculate, right? Somewhere I'll take US dollar is somewhere around 87 or 88, but let's not assume that, right? Let's assume 80 into 24. This is for 1 month. If I multiply it by 2 months, we are somewhere paying around 3,900 or 4,000 out of that 30K. If you're paying 27K, that's still fine. It is one-time payment, but assume that on an average, a person is paying 30K. Out of that 30K, 4K is spent on the license. So we are giving that license, which is part and parcel of this fees only. We are not charging additionally for it. Okay, so open for questions. Any questions? Or please try to raise your hands because it would not have a confusion. Karthik, go ahead.
Yes, Ritesh, thanks for it. Ritesh, I just want to confirm one thing. So when you say the SQL is already complete for this batch, I assume all the 40 members here are new members. So I don't get that, like SQL is already completed for this batch. Are we going to combine with any other existing batch, or how is it?
No, there are few people who are from the SQL batch also. So we are going to start with Power BI for them, as well as for the people who are joining new with this Power BI. So the question is, for every tech stack, see, there might be some people who already know Power BI and SQL. So they'll be joining with Azure. There will be some people who will be joining with Azure also. What we see is people skip certain SQL sessions and they join with Power BI. That's still fine, right? It is up to their understanding. So for every new stack which we are going to start with, we get some new admissions and we merge it with that current batch. People who join with Azure, right? They'll only join for Azure only. People who join with Power BI, they join with SQL also. But anyways, for this batch, SQL is done. What options we have is, in KSR, every 2 weeks, a new batch will be started. Not for Power BI, it might be data science, data engineering, or some other batches. Okay. So for every batch, we have SQL compulsory, except Java. But for every other course, we have SQL as a compulsory element. So you will be given an option to parallelly attend that SQL sessions along with Power BI. Some people may grasp it. Some may get confused. If you're not satisfied with that, you will be given recordings of what we covered until last month. I mean, since last 1 month, we are taking SQL sessions, right? So you will be given that recordings. If you have time, you can go back and check. Even if you're not satisfied with that second option, the third option is, once we complete with this Power BI, then we will start with Azure. Once we complete with this Azure, we will again start with a new batch with SQL. There you will be added automatically. So all three options are open. Now you have to choose which option is good fit for you. You can choose all three also. The question is, if you're choosing that I'll not be able to attend parallel batches where some other batches you are being added, you will be removed from that and you will be added after Azure into SQL batch. So you have to choose which is good fit.
Oh, got it. And one more thing, like, see, you say that you have recorded videos and all. So my understanding is, even though we have this recording videos, all the curriculum, what you have mentioned, will be taught online as well, the classes, right?
Yes, yes. See, recording in the sense that we're all live sessions. If you want to go back and refer every session, right, you have that recorded videos. It is not pre-recorded. These are all live sessions. Even the session which I've covered today, right? If you want to go back and check the recording of it, the only thing is you need to go to the browser, mention KSR Data Vision. So this is our website. You need to click on sign in. It would open a new or the older version of website. So only thing is you have to register. create a new account. So you can click on create a new account. You can register with your personal email IDs. Once you register for it, you can come down and use that email ID and password which you have set up while registering the account. Click on sign in. Oh, it is. Just a moment.
I think I have created one already from my
Yeah,
credentials. I can go over and check.
Anyone? Okay, Satish. Satish, can you get this email ID unblocked? Because it is allowing that devices exception.
2 minutes, sir. 2 minutes.
Yeah, you can. I'll also show you how to check the recordings because it would be easy. Recordings doesn't mean these are all pre-recorded sessions. No, these are all live sessions only. You can go back and check that recordings.
Okay. And with respect to job application from our end, right? Like when we try for this placement and all, so what is the tentative timeline that we are see if we put our dedicated timeline to work on this hands-on and all those technical stuffs, like what can be a tentative timeline that we can be job ready and we can start applying for jobs?
Okay. So as of now, are you a working professional?
Yes.
And into which field, if you would like to answer?
I'm into project management and I would like to, switch to these roles. Yeah.
Okay. So it's more a kind of administrative field, right? How do you manage it?
Operations,
yeah.
customer management, etc.
Got it. So see, for you, it may be you need to, once I complete Power BI, it may not be right to jump or start searching. Once we complete Azure, then I can assist you that you start searching for the job. By the time SQL sessions would be parallelly happening. Correct. For the people who joined with SQL and Power BI, once Power BI is done, you can start applying because parallelly Azure sessions would be going on in the background. So somewhere 2 technical stacks you have to completely know, either Power BI Azure or either SQL Power. But Power BI is must in both of them.
Got it.
You can slowly start searching for jobs. But anyways, you are joining. If you're interested, join with Power BI. In that case, the best time to get a job in complete year is it would start from July and it would end by December 15th.
Yes.
So this is the best time phase to get into a new job. Why? Because in the month of July, people who have got a very less increment, they will start they'll start resigning from their existing roles, right? So that company will hire in replacement of that resigned person. So usually appraisals are released in the month of June, even though they close it by month of March or April, it would be released in the month of June. So by end of June or by start of July, people start resigning. So in order to replace that candidate who has resigned, the open positions will start in the month of July. And July is also, see, most of our market is also dependent on US. Nowadays, it is also shifting from US to Europe. That's still fine. But most of our markets or most of our US and Europe markets, their fiscal year or financial year starts from July. What is fiscal year or financial year? For India, it starts from 1st of April, right? April to 30th of March, that is our 31st of March, that is our complete financial year. For US and some European countries, they follow July to June structure. So whenever July starts, new projects also starts. So if a new project is starting, for that new project, there will be some new requirements. So companies will start hiring for new requirements from month of July. So probably around August, September, October, you will have maximum number of open positions. After that, slowly it will start dropping. And by 15th of December, it will completely drop. So in the month of January, February, March, and April, there will be open positions, but only that will be replacement. If some person is moving out in that case, they will replace that person. But there will be no new positions in that month. The first half of the year. Second half, you will have many open positions. So this is the right time. If you're targeting by end of Azure, you can definitely target.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, Ganesh, can you go ahead with your question?
Yeah, hi. Just in line to the Karthik question, we have as you said, we have these three models: SQL, Power BI, and Azure. And I want to understand like the integration of these cores as what first module we can start with, and how what is your recommendation to continue? Because all three modules are mandatory, but to understand from the beginning for a fresher or who doesn't have an idea, what is your recommendation to start with? Is it directly on Power BI we can start with, or there is SQL and then Power BI and also?
So see, I'll simplify. Even my SQL batch knows it. I've been saying since long. What happens is it's a human tendency. It's nothing wrong with a particular human being, but it's a human tendency that if I start with SQL, there might be many people who are joining for SQL first 5 sessions, which are totally free, right? We have 5 sessions for all the tech stack whenever we start. 5 sessions are free. What we have seen is people joining with SQL are very limited, but people joining with Power BI are twice the number of SQL, or maybe 1.5 times more the number of SQL. So if there are 10 people joining with SQL, for Power BI, there will be 15. For Azure, again, it will be drop down to 10. The question is why people join with Power BI more is because Power BI is interesting, right? As compared with SQL is kind of small amount of coding you have to do. Coding in the sense how to interact with the database, that is what SQL is used for. So as I've said, all three tech stack is important, but having been considered the current market position also, right? You need to also consider that when open positions will be available. So by the time we complete SQL, it would be end of December, because for a new batch in the December might be a new batch will start, and at that time the number of positions would get closed. So I would always say that if you complete Power BI and Azure, you can slowly start attending interviews. Anyways, we will be giving some notes or some recordings with SQL, right? So if you go through some basic sessions of SQL also, that is more than sufficient. Right? We cannot again go back for 1 month and we can start with SQL, right? So for that purpose, I always say that any of the two technical stacks, if you know, you can start searching for a job. But two, not only Power BI, not only SQL, not only Azure. SQL, Power BI, Power BI, Azure.
Okay. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Hi, Ritesh, just one doubt.
Yeah, go ahead.
And now you will not discuss any technical, right? If there are no questions, I can drop it. I have to.
Yeah. You can. There's no discussion which will be happening. And okay, let me
Thank
highlight
you.
8 to 9:30 is our time. For first few sessions, there will be number of questions. That's the reason we extended. No, we never extended post 9:30 once we start with the sessions which are active sessions, probably after first 5 sessions. Right. So I always try to close by 9:15 or 9:20 only. Last 10 minutes will be buffer time. So strict with the timelines, will not extend it, neither we start it earlier. Any other questions?
Hi, sir.
Okay, go ahead. Srihari or Sai, I'm not sure who is speaking, but if you raise your hand, maybe I'll be able to.
Srihari, please go on. I will just
Okay,
check
yes,
with you after this. Okay. So
Yeah.
Santosh, yeah, Srihari, go on, please. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I have just one doubt. Like, I have basic to intermediate knowledge in Power BI, and I started even applying for interview jobs. But what they are asking is more related to project, like what projects you have worked in which domain. So, like on that spot, like I can't even answer like in which projects domain. Like they are asking like that. So, will you teach regarding the project experience and all? Like,
Yes, projects would be anyways there. Right? Without project, you cannot explain anything, right? Now,
yeah.
maybe I'll simplify it for you. Are you a working professional?
Yes.
Into which field? Tech, non-tech, or even if it is tech, which, if you would like to answer?
I'm working in currently join Power Platform.
Okay, that's fine. So in that case, if you're working in Power Platform also, you may have basic understanding on what Power App or Power automate flow you have developed, right? You may have understanding about the project which you're working.
Yeah.
So that same understanding can also be interpreted in Power BI for the reporting also. The question is, if you know Power BI, what particular visual is used for, what transformations are there, you can use that same project information to create or to replace it in your resume that I've worked in Power BI rather being Power. And if you know Power Platform, or if you know some Power Apps or Power BI, Power Automate services, that would be added advantage along with Power BI. So by learning Power BI, you can easily change or you can easily adapt that. How can I showcase my existing experience into Power BI? But you need to know what that particular, chart is used for, or how transformations works. So that can be easily discussed once you have a good understanding of Power BI, not now.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, if you're getting into a fresher role, then basics of Power BI is enough. Into fresher. Fresher means the one you are trying to say, right? I know some basics in the sense you may know some basic components of Power BI, how it works, maybe how to publish. That is sufficient from a fresher point of view. But with experience point of view, you need to explain that project, right? So that will come along with the practice.
Like I would want like for 3 years.
Yeah, that's sure. I mean, see, this course is developed for people with up to 4 years of experience. You can easily show. For people who have more than 4 years of experience, now it depends how we can showcase. It depends. Now that varies from person to person. Power BI was introduced 10 years back, but this is in the market. People are using Power BI since 2018. So not even 2015. 2015 to 18 was one of the slowest pace where Power BI was not that dominating. From 18 and 19, it started to pick up, and post COVID, it has picked up. I mean, it's been a market leader. So you can say that 5, 6, 7 years of experience you can show, not more than that. If it is more than that, you can say that I've started with some other tool and then I switched to Power. So that's how we can show this. Yeah, we are not going to discuss anything technical. So if anyone is busy, they want to continue with their activities, day-to-day activities, you can drop off.
Hi, Santosh. Hi, sir.
So Srihari asked a question. Now it's Sai, right? Okay, my bad. I was just confused. Yeah, Sai, go ahead.
So Santosh, I'm an old student and just started with your session only and of Power BI. So it's been 3 years. I'm just working in the Power BI.
My name is Ritesh. Santosh is having different batch. That's fine. That's fine. No worries.
So actually, my concern is right now, if I would like to just go with Fabric because I have already done the Power BI, but now I believe actually my requirement is going towards Fabric. Because the data is increasing, and of course the ADF is one of the feature in Fabric itself. Earlier I just learned ADF differently. So I don't have a Fabric experience, and how to get the license, which license is suitable so that I can go with the data and my team to provide the reports. At the same time, what I'm seeing today, actually, slowly these transitions are moving to a bit of DevOps side, where using GitHub pipelines once we start a project. So that particular experience and Fabric experience can be given differently. Is there anything, or I have to go with the entire course?
No, you can start with Azure. For you, anyway, you are good in Power BI, assuming there is no requirement to reiterate that again and again, right?
Yes, sir.
So you can directly jump with the Azure sessions where we will be comparing Azure and standalone Azure services and Fabric. So that's where you can join. In short, Power BI is, for now, it is not required.
Okay, so I can just directly go with Azure. And when the Azure classes will be starting?
Probably if I start by 15th of September now, so we can assume 15th of October and November. So maybe by second week of November, I'll be starting.
Okay, that would be very much helpful, sir. Thanks a lot. At same time, so with association with GitHub and that Agile experience, how to just start a project and go with the project
Agile,
live.
see, agile way of project management. I will take a session. What is agile? What all is present in the agile? That is different. GitHub, you're trying to say, see, not every company uses GitHub nowadays, that too with respect to Power BI.
Yes.
GitHub is more specific to DevOps. That means your
DevOps.
pipelines, all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So whenever we are learning, what is the use of GitHub also? In simple terms, see, I'll explain it in very simple manner so that everyone understands. If suppose in ADF, let's consider ADF only. If suppose in ADF, there are 10 people working in a project and all 10 people has an access to that ADF. You cannot create different ADFs for different people, right? Because it will charge separately for everyone.
Yes.
You need to have only one service. So if 10 people are accessing this ADF, all this 10 people has full access. And if there are 20 pipelines which are related to your project, so anyone can come and edit this pipeline, right? Now it is very difficult to understand who has edited it, who has updated it. So in order to avoid that circumstances where anyone can come and update, what people do or what companies do, what client projects follow is there is a concept where they integrate GitHub. What is GitHub? GitHub is a version control. So if you integrate this GitHub with ADF, whatever 20 pipelines are there, that 20 pipelines will be available in the GitHub because it is connected to ADF. That means in the ADF only you will have the 20 pipelines. But this 20 pipelines will be in the master branch. There is a concept called as master branch. No one can edit anything in the master branch. No one can edit. So if any person wants to change any pipeline logic, what they will do is they will create their own branch. Own branch means some temporary branch they will create and they will update. See, whenever you create a own branch, this own branch will be always created from the master branch only. So what is present in the master branch will all come in the own branch. So here you can update if any logic you want to update, you can update that. But once you update it, right, how do you reflect it in the master branch? That reflection will take some time. This needs to be approved by certain architect. So architect will go back and see what is changed, if that change is correct or not. If he feels that change is correct, he will approve it and then it will be integrated with the master branch. So what this GitHub does is it will make sure that you are actually controlling the older versions without changing it directly, rather changing it in your own local branch. And if that change is correct, architect will approve, that will merge with the master branch. That is GitHub.
And tomorrow, if that doesn't work, we can just disassociate also at the same time.
Whatever change you have made, right, you can remove that change. Because in GitHub, it will track whatever change it has made. You can remove that change also. You can come back to the previous stage.
And my concern is sometimes because we just work with the SQL at the back end. So of course, there, as per the requirement, the code always changes as per the requirement. We have to just apply some filters and just remove some filters. Yes. And at some point of time in future, again, we see that the main code actually, which was there, we have to just switch back to the main and just remove all that particular references. So that time, I believe it's just very much helpful as per to just track that what's going on and what to be done. Yeah.
Yes. If you also additionally learn GitHub, there are some other external tools which you have to have a hands-on understanding. May not be expert in that, but maybe certain Linux commands or Unix commands. There are certain for GitHub also, for installing GitHub and integrated. See, GitHub can be also integrated with Power BI, but it is not recommended. It is not recommended. Power BI version controlling can be done with the help of Excel or SharePoint as well. Even that is possible. So, I mean, GitHub is also a product of Microsoft. It is also a product of Microsoft. So, even though it is a product of Microsoft, Microsoft never push any candidate or never ask any person to integrate it with Power BI because they know Power BI version control can be done separately. It is not that it should always use a GitHub, but yeah, can be integrated. So it can be connected with any tool which is available in the market, mostly.
Yes. Thanks, Ritesh, for the insight. Thanks a lot for that.
Okay, cool. Any other questions? Okay, assuming that there are no questions, it's 9:50. If you still have, maybe you can write it down and let's connect tomorrow. We'll clarify that doubts in tomorrow's session. Yep. Thank you, everyone. Have a very good day. Let's connect back tomorrow.